keep saying, what is it? It's like, it keeps showing like my mom around me again and her coming through, which she does a lot, but making it very clear it's her. But it's also always around like, it's like when we have discussion about this idea of psychic, this idea of seeing into the future, and how it's such a weird way like to say it, in that it gives people, I think, a false impression or a false idea, or like where I don't think that's necessarily happening with some of us. I think it's and maybe it's just not happening with me, right? Like maybe it's like what's happening with me and what maybe happened with my mom and with, other, it's like, maybe stuff happened where we, didn't feel safe, right? Or didn't feel certain. And so that adds that fear or that fright in the body. And it also adds that desire to have more of it, more certainty, more safety. And so it was almost like we were forced into our higher selves, in a sense, like forced to, again, it's like see the future. That's not really what's happening. It's like, it was like we didn't realize we were forcing. It's like we didn't consciously choose to start seeing patterns, but I think that's what's occurring. It's like when you go through that stuff, or you experience that deep desire to have more safety and certainty, you innately start to pick up techniques or abilities that you're not maybe necessarily consciously doing so, but subconsciously, or your higher self is going, okay, we don't like this. We don't want to feel this way. Let's find a way to make ourselves feel safer and more comfortable and more certain. And so you start to pick up behaviors, you start to pick up patterns, you start to see things so you can predict. And I'm putting that in quotes because you can't ever truly predict, in that everybody is still, they can choose for themselves. They don't necessarily do such. A lot of people are still under others' control and thumbs. Their mind is being run by, other people's beliefs and fears. And so they're not technically running the show. This is why you can technically end up predicting a lot of people's next steps or future, because they're likely to continue the pattern they're doing unless they choose to wake the fuck up and recognize and decide for themselves and consciously make other choices. And so it's like, once you see your own patterns, your own actions, your own behaviors, and you see where they've led you and what the consequences of those actions are, the results of that behavior is, you can either get sad about it because you don't like it, you're not happy about it, and you're like, it's just the way it is, that's how I'm programmed, and accept it and keep running that way even though you've claimed you don't like it. Or you can wake the fuck up and make a different choice and constantly do, or consciously do the work, the effort to make the changes. And, we talk about this all the time, the millions of practices out there. Like, people have a jillion techniques and to help you rewire, to help you become more conscious, to help you create those new pathways, to make the changes, to do the hard things, to face your own fears, to pop those beliefs that aren't serving you, aren't working for you, all these things. And so I'm just trying to determine what they're trying to tell me here. It might just simply be that, right? Like, because it does feel like gifts. You've heard me reference it all the time like that. And so it's like, I don't want to underplay it and I don't want to overplay it, is what I'm trying to get at. Because it's like, I think for a long time I was underplaying it. Like, most of my life, I didn't realize I had these skills or talents, which is kind of funny and ironic because I've always had them, because, I was traumatized very young when my mother died, right? So it's like, that is a big shakeup in one's life when you're so young. And so, and then there's a series of other events that, has you on like high alert, so to speak. And so that causes that ripple effect of your subconscious being like, all right, we got to help this girl. So let's start, connecting the dots and seeing the patterns. And in doing so, it just becomes part of who you are. So it's like, and that's why like so many things can be explained, and they can be explained in a million different ways, right? Like if people can, whatever their line of logic is, learning, understanding, belief system will explain so many things in so many different languages, even though it's all saying the same thing. And so it's like, you hear that a lot too. It's like as the result of what you've experienced, good or bad, you do end up picking up talents and skills. And I think if it's at the result of good, it's usually more consciously picking up those skills. If it's the result of bad, it's usually more subconsciously picking up those skills. So then you might not recognize or see your own talent, your own skills. And because they were not consciously worked on and cultivated, they were subconsciously required. And I think that's what they're having me get at. And so then we could underplay them or not even recognize them, realize them, or see them ever, because one, you could still be living in freeze, fright, flight, all these things, or at times you're in those, and so then maybe they're heightened, and it's like you need to then recognize or see them then, and so like you can see them as gifts. Like that's a gift. That's wonderful that you were able to figure out a way to, it's like, meet those needs, help you feel more certain, right? But you also don't want to like overplay it, is what I'm trying to say, where like what they have come through for me, how they teach me, how they show me, and I know it's like a mixed bag. It's a mix of so many things, of all the things we're talking about right here, right now. But like if you were to come to me right now, it's not like I can see into your future, right? It's like, just like anybody else, you go to me or anybody else, any stranger on the street, you start talking to anybody and you tell them your life and your situation. If they're able to remain present with you and they're able to understand things, like maybe not just anybody, but like if they can pick up patterns, if they can see how things are going, like it's like a lot of times it's just logic. It's just okay, well, you've been doing this and these are the results you're getting. And are you happy with those? No. Okay, well then, so if these are the steps that always lead to that, you need to change these steps. You need to change. You need to make a shift, whether it's in the mind or it's in the actual physical steps you're doing or actions you're taking. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's not. See, this is where they think that they get upset with me. I was going to say it's not challenging or difficult. It just takes us slowing down and being present, being honest and being real and being true. And it's like they keep getting upset with me right there. It's like they think I'm underplaying my gifts. I'm not. I get that I'm talented in those ways, and I appreciate it and like those gifts. I think I'm having trouble with the word psychic. And here's the other thing. Sorry. This was the other thing that was coming through. My mom is showing me now. Like, I think because there is so much misunderstanding around it, and because there's so many words that are tossed around, all these meanings and understandings, it can be challenging or difficult in that those who I was going to say don't have access, but I think a lot of people have access now, but they don't necessarily take the time to see the string or the line through all the information. And so like, I think they're trying to show me it's like the idea of having one being misdiagnosed, right? Or misunderstood. And so then pigeonholed or labeled or hurt or harmed or suppressed, or it's like instead of helping themselves and others, I can't get it out. Both my mother and my Uncle Joe committed suicide, but they're also showing there's some parallel here. And so I don't know this about either one of them. I don't know if this was the case for them as far as like, were they psychic then? Did they, in other words, again, like that word, it's like, or did they just have so much trauma in their life that they too found the pathway for them, likely subconsciously, was to pick up on patterns and to predict things. And so then they probably also were also really connected with their higher self, right? And their higher self was guiding them, and they were in tune with the flow of the universe. And they probably were saying and doing things that spooked other people out when they didn't necessarily recognize it. They weren't like saying it to spook them out. It was just, it's like I say things that are just truth and factual and just how I see them or how I understand them or what's coming through. And so it's like, I'm not, you can't understand how other people are going to perceive things. They're going to perceive them how they're going to perceive them, hear them how they're going to hear them. And so it's like sometimes I think we don't recognize the power of the tongue, the power of our words, the power of things, in that, other people can hear something and it freaks them out, or it comes true and it like, it's like a fright. Like, I think when these gifts were highlighted so much more in the past few years, like when they were brought more to my awareness, that I was able to see these things more clearly than other people, I think it did freak me out. Like, I don't think I realized I was able to, let's just use my words, see patterns in this way so that I was able to predict so many things where it's like, well, I'm just seeing a pattern. So it's like, yes, this is the predictable continuum of that pattern as long as there isn't a deviation. In other words, at any point, it could not come true because whatever I'm predicting chooses to deviate from that pattern. Whether it is a person, place, thing, whatever the case, you see what I'm saying? And so it's just like stockbrokers. It's like all these things. Like, it's just a predictable pattern. But that doesn't mean they're guaranteed to get it right, because you can't take into accountability all factors, or when people wake up, or when people all of a sudden to change, to take a different direction. You might not have rhyme or reason, or get privy to the rhyme or reason, or have heads up that there's going to all of a sudden be a shift or a wake up or whatever, and then shit turns and you're like, well, I didn't see that coming. Well, no, because it's off the pattern. The pattern was going this way. So yes, all bets, all signs point this way. It makes the most sense. You can make logical sense of it. You've seen this pattern. It's not changed. As long as you can ride those waves, you see, for the most part, this is the way it's headed. But it can all of a sudden change. It can all the time. And sometimes it does just take one person shifting, one person waking up, one person whatever, can have a huge ripple effect and can change everything. And then that does, it's jarring on sometimes the person themselves and all the other people, because they didn't see it coming. And so now they feel the uncertainty, ironically, right? Because the person who learned to see those patterns always felt that way. So they're like, oh yeah, I'm well aware of how that feels. I don't know if you can hear all this. And I'm still not getting to, I think what my mom is trying to get me to see or say or understand too is like, it can be hard on people, I guess, who have those abilities. I think more when we don't understand them, even ourselves, right? So like, that's making me sad. I think I just hit on that from my mom. Yeah, I always did wonder about that kind of stuff, because she comes through. Like, sometimes I'll even see her face. Like, it's wild. And so, and I know people can explain that away, but I'm telling you, it's more than that. Okay, let's not get stuck there. What was it that you just had me feel? Okay, I think she was able to see her. It's like her subconscious probably was also always on hyper, overdrive. And so in doing so, she was naturally connected to her higher self and picking up on all these things. But then when you yourself become conscious of your subconscious, and you start to hear and see and recognize how much you're hearing and seeing, and how much is coming true, and how much you're predicting, and how much, like all these things, it can be jarring on us, right? Because it's also like, it is almost like an ego death, or because it's like it's an identity of yourself. It was how you saw yourself previously as being shed and shook up, right? Even if it's for the good, it's still like shocking and jarring, and like, how the fuck did I do that? Or how the hell did that happen? Or how the hell, like it's still jarring on one's nervous system. And so when you don't have words to wrap around that, or people who understand that, or who can't see what's happening, and you yourself can't see what's happening, or you don't understand it, or can't make sense of it, if we can't rationalize it, because, these things, it does evolve over time. So it's not like you could sit down in one sentence or one session and explain it to somebody who has better knowing of all these things. It's something that has to unravel over time to get the full picture, and one can never get the full picture of another person because it would take a lifetime. And even then, you probably couldn't explain it all. And so, I think she's pointing that out, like that maybe that was what happened with her too, with this, like, you do feel like you're going crazy. That's why I've said before, I was like, I wonder if she was going through many spiritual awakenings, right? Because if you know your truth, you know you're connected, you're, all these things, but everybody outside of you is like, you're the oddball, or why are you like that? Or why are you saying that? You get pigeonholed as the scapegoat or the crazy one or whatever. And you're the abnormal one. And so then you believe that rhetoric. You start to think, oh, I'm the abnormal one, I'm crazy, I'm whatever. And it's jarring. And it's then you start to tell yourself lies. So then you're like competing with yourself inside your head, where you are being guided and steered in the right way, but then others outside of you told you differently. So then that, demon inside of you speaks up as well. It's like waking up the demon and the angel inside you at the same time. So then you have to fight all those battles. It's a lot. And so yeah, I'm not sure what else she's trying to get me to see or understand. It's like, because to me, because it's just how I experienced it, right? So it's like, I can only speak for me. And I was going to say, for me, this is why it's so important to stay so fully connected to your higher self, because we're constantly breaking trust with our higher selves, and then we become disconnected. Then you have to go through that karma and that repair with oneself, and to stay in alignment with yourself. And so sometimes we do it so often and so much, or misunderstand it, or that it takes a really hard time to get back to oneself and get back to the present moment, and to eat through all that karma, and to release all those worries and burdens and stress and that. And so for me, I have found that, continuing to do that inner work, and continuing to connect with myself and my higher self in the universe, and to do all the techniques and practices, and what feels natural and best, and where I'm steered, and like all these things, knowing what to listen to and who to surround myself with, and are all really, really important and necessary, and for me. But again, like somebody else, I think it's also like the degree of separation you are from oneself. It's like, how long have you gone on where you haven't been fully present? And it's like, I don't know that people know. I don't think people know until they become present again, and then they realize they were offline. They weren't present. It's the idea of you're asleep until you're awake, and then when you're awake, at any point you could go back to sleep, and you don't know you're back asleep until you're awake again. And I'm using those words as far as like conscious and unconscious, as in, you have a predictable pattern that you have made familiar, and you're not aware that you've made that pattern familiar, so you don't even see that aspect of yourself. You don't even see that pattern within yourself. You don't even see that attribute. You don't see that whatever. And then you become conscious of it, and then you can change it while you're awake. You can make the effort while you're conscious to it, and change it if you don't like it. Yet you then, whatever you change into, whatever pattern you are doing because you've decided that would be better for you, you then make that the new predictable pattern that becomes the automatic pilot. And so essentially you become then asleep to that new pattern. And if you're not staying conscious enough, if that pattern's no longer serving you and you're not having some kind of check-in system or some kind of review mandatory reviews of yourself or a way to jar yourself awake, then that too can become a pattern that doesn't serve you at some point, but you don't realize it. You're asleep to it. This is why we're constantly growing and changing and evolving, and we have to choose for ourselves and constantly upgrade our system, constantly change our beliefs to match our new desired outcome, and recognize when and when we aren't. And I don't know if people aren't conscious of what I'm even saying or understand what I'm saying, know to do that or how to do that or want to do that or care to do that. Yeah, I don't know. Or any of it even matters. It's like that idea, that statement, that's saying, I always get it wrong because I never know which way it goes. Everything matters, none of it's important, or everything's important, none of it matters. Who knows? Thanks so much for tuning in and listening. You can now purchase an audio journey with me using the link below.